What is up, college football nation? We are back. Another week that we should have some success. Quick recap. We hit the nail last week. We had a pretty strong week. We definitely were on top of all the running backs. We really hit it well coming into another week where I think this is a bit more challenging in terms of picking stacks, in terms of the games are a lot more defensive, not as many high flowing games. So the good is that we should be able to focus in at least on a pretty big slate. We can focus in on a few priority spots, but I am finding this week to be a little bit more challenging to pick than others. But we still have some opportunity here to find some gems, and let's kind of go in and break it down and figure out where we can find an edge and get some value. Just to address, this will be a bit of a shorter show, and I apologize for the awkward time. I know we usually do 8:00, and we're going at 6 today. The reason for it is it's my birthday, so I'm going out for dinner, and so I had to record a little bit earlier so I could get out. But we're gonna have some good. We're gonna rub our magic genie lamp, use my good birthday luck, and we're all gonna win some money this weekend. So here's how we're gonna do it. Let's dive right in like we always do. Let's pull up the depth charts on Draftkings and go right through it. We can start right away with this Kansas State Texas Tech game. I think this is one of the games that we can target. There should be neither defense is great, so both teams should be able to score some points. I think Skylar Thompson's interesting. He definitely he's a dual threat quarterback, a guy that can throw for some yards and run. Coming off an injury, he might be more hesitant to run, but I think eventually that's his game. That's going to come back at $6K. I think he's more than affordable. My priority, though, on this team would be Deuce Vaughn, who is, he's an elite running back. I mean, he's one of the top, definitely 10 guys in the country, maybe better. At 7,700, it's a little high, but I'm willing to go there with him, especially if you're looking to play some of this Texas Tech side, some guys on the Texas Tech side too, and stack this game. And then on the receivers in this game, Knowles and Brooks are the two guys getting the target share of the looks. Those are the two guys I would target. I prefer Brooks for the savings. I don't think there's a big gap, so give me the 4,400 in Brooks. But either guy would be in play if you're playing Thompson. And then on the Texas Tech side, Columbia looks like he's still getting the start this week. I think Show is still out. I like Columbia. He's definitely hit or miss. He can go off. But, he's not like, Pat Mahomes, right? So there might be some limited upside. Taj Brooks, I think, is out again, but that's not confirmed. So you definitely want to check back. If he is out, then I like Sir Roderick a lot. Kansas State, I don't think has the worst run D, but they are beatable, and I think this could make for a good game script, especially if Sir Roderick gets a majority of the carries. And then on the receiving end, a lot of these targets seem to be funneling through Ezukama and Geiger. So, you can pick one of these two. You can play them alone. You can play them with Columbia. I think that's totally up to you. But there's really four guys in play here on the Texas Tech side. And they're not must plays. If you want to think this is going to be a higher scoring game, you can go there. But I wouldn't say this is a must play or must stack game. Miles, thanks, man. I appreciate it. We'll get to Corral on that game in a few minutes for sure. Head over to this Oklahoma game. Oklahoma is going to blow them out, which makes it kind of confusing what to do for DFS because this game could be over after a quarter, right? A lot of the starters might not play more than a half, but that also means they'll have to score enough points where they don't need to be in the game. So it means points are to be had. So it's a confusing one. Caleb Williams looks great. He's rejuvenated this offense. I think going forward, he might be my favorite player. It's just in a game that's going to be such a big blowout. It's hard. I just don't know what to do because I don't think he's going to play more than at most 3 quarters, but probably less than that. So it's like at 9,800, you want a guy that's not even going to probably play a full game. I don't know. It's just an interesting thing. You definitely want some shares because there's going to be a lot of points here, but it's a matter of, how you get those shares in this Oklahoma team. I like Kennedy Brooks. I think, either him or Gray are the way to go here. They've priced Brooks up, but he's looked great the last couple weeks, and it's just hard to imagine him not having a good game against this pitiful Kansas team. So I like Brooks. I've seen some folks talking about a different approach and going Gray, expecting the blow, and then Gray getting some late carries because it's out of hand. That is a theory I can get around to. So if that's your theory, you get the cheaper Gray, expecting him to get some garbage time touches. I'd be okay with that. On the receiving end, there's really a big three here between Mims, Woods, and Hasselwood. I normally would like Mims the most, but with the price up, I don't think he's that big of a difference where I'd rather just get the savings on a Hasselwood or Woods to kind of more round out my lineup. Listen, even with the blowout, the points will be there. So, what scares me with the blowout is like having your most expensive player, be the guy that you're relying on in Williams. But if you're not playing quarterback, I definitely will play some of these receivers solo. Thinking one of them has to catch a big touchdown or 2 touchdowns, there will be a lot of points scored. So I think that's definitely a win reason, especially these more affordable Woods and Hazelwood. On the Kansas side, Kansas is so bad that listen, the points will be scored. They should get a lot of opportunity, but they're just pathetic. So I don't really know what to tell you to do with Kansas. You can't play a running back because Oklahoma has shown that they can stop the run. So I wouldn't go there. You'd want to go to this passing game. Now, Bean has been awful. I don't know why they haven't listed Kendrick as a starter. If they have listed Kendrick as a starter, I'd actually be pretty interested. He came in late last week and threw 2 touchdowns, looked competent. And at the $5K price range, he's so affordable. He'll have so many opportunities. I would be interested in him. But it looks like Bean's starting. So I can't play too much of a backup quarterback with that level of uncertainty. So unless word comes out before kickoff that they're going to start Kendrick, I'm probably just going to not play too much of either. And then if I do get word that Kendrick's going to play and I want to pair him, there's a handful of guys. They're all mediocre at best. You're throwing a dart here. These are GPP plays more than anything. But if you wanted to throw Lassiter, Grimm, Arnold, any of these guys in there, I could get behind that. Yeah, I would say Lassiter, Grimm, and Arnold are the 3. Maybe McBride, but probably not. I think there's maybe a 3-man rotation to target here. But for the most part, they've been so bad. It's probably safe to just fade Kansas altogether. Looking at this Cincinnati game, Cincinnati's good, very good. They might make the playoff. Navy's bad. So we're going to fade Navy against a good Cincinnati defense altogether. So that's easy. That's a completely wash. Ritter at 9K, just too high. He does have the upside, but it just, Navy runs that triple option that maybe will lower the game script and the plays. Ritter's a better real life player than maybe fantasy player, right? So at 9K, 8,900, I just don't think he's worth that price tag. The most interested I'll be here is on Ford, who is the bell cow. They're just feeding him the ball. In a game that should be a blowout, I think he can have another kind of blow-up game. So Ford would be the guy I'd be looking for here. But other than that, I just don't love this game script much. So I don't want to target this game too often. Kind of same to go with this Northwestern-Michigan game. I mean, Northwestern doesn't impress me at all. There's not much I want to play on Northwestern against a pretty solid Michigan defense. And then on the Michigan side of the ball, they've shown no interest in putting the ball in the air in a game where I don't see a need for them to. Hard to target anyone in the passing game or the quarterback on the Michigan side. Both Haskins and Corum are in play. Both guys will get plenty of touches. So, yeah, the Michigan running backs I like, and those are guys we can target. Outside of the Michigan running backs, I wouldn't touch anyone else in this game. The PSU side, Penn State, we need some more information. Sean Clifford's questionable. If he's playing, this is a much more dangerous offense. If Clifford's not playing, I think this running game becomes interesting. They've struggled running the ball this year, and they're giving everybody on the roster a chance. So it's really hard to focus the carries. But my thought is, if Clifford's not going to play, they might try to establish more of a ground game. And the go-to guy, at least the number one option is Kane. He's definitely not going to be the bell cow, but he is the number one guy. At 4,800, he's affordable. So I could see if Clifford's out, Kane would be more interesting to me. If Clifford's in, then that brings the receivers back into play where we can look at Dotson. Dotson's in play regardless of who's playing quarterback. This is an NFL receiver. He might be a first first or second round draft pick. He's lights out at 7,200. I'm totally fine with that price point. I'll be playing me some Dotson. And then Washington and Lambert Smith. I prefer Washington at 4,900, but they both are involved. Again, but we just have to see who's playing quarterback before we can make those decisions. And then on the Illinois side of the ball, this is a good Penn State defense. I'm not interested in Illinois much. I don't think they're going to have too much success. I mean, Peters is cheap enough if you wanted to take a shot, but I just don't see the upside here. So I'm pretty much out unless unless we're going to look at the Penn State side. In this Wake Army game, Wake Forest is a good team, right? They are looking like they can contend this year. Army's not very good. I'm not too interested. Maybe we can consider Tyler if Anderson's out again because they run so much and he gets all of those goal line carries with scoring upside. I think Tyler's a little overpriced, so I'm not loving him. But that's the one guy I would consider there. On the Wake Forest side, I think Hartman's a little overpriced as well. I don't love Hartman here, but I think some of his receivers in play. I will be looking at Roberson and Perry. I think they're both fairly priced. I prefer Roberson at a better number, 6,400. They're throwing the ball a lot. This is an elite receiver, so Roberson would be a guy I would target. A.T. Perry we can get to. He gets a lot of red zone looks. If you want to get more of a dive deep type play, Taylor Moore is in play as a much more affordable option. I don't think I like the running game here. They haven't done much on the ground. They haven't looked good. Not a time to roll the dice there. So on the Army side, Tyler maybe, but for the most part, they have a ton of running backs. No one's getting that many carries. It's pretty a serviceable Wake Forest defense. I'm not interested in too much in Army. Moving right along, let's get to this afternoon game. Another defensive battle. Like I told you, we have some not great DFS matchups. So there's a lot of games to fade, which one way is a good thing, right? Because it narrows the focus. So Wisconsin's passing game has just not been there, not worth looking at. I just think this is a low scoring, low game script. For the most part, I don't think we need to target too many players in this game at all. I don't love the running game either. On the Purdue side, the only guy I'm interested in is going to be David Bell, who is another one of the best receivers in the country. They throw him the ball a ton. He lit up Iowa, which is a great defense. So, this could be one of those games against another great Wisconsin defense that they just throw them the ball every time. You would think Wisconsin's coaching saw the same stuff we saw, and they're just going to quadruple team Bell and make someone else beat them. But, that might not be an option. So, David Bell's in play. After Bell, I'm fading the rest of this game. Oklahoma State, Iowa State's interesting. So here we got some guys we can play. Spencer Sanders is just like, he kind of looks like just not good. There's nothing that jumps off the page. He's not that good of a runner. He's not that good of a passer. He's just the quarterback of a decent team, which sometimes points come, but I just don't see the upside with Sanders. Jalen Warren's the guy here. They are feeding him the rock. I mean, the amount of touches he gets, he is playing a pretty solid Iowa State run D, so keep that in mind. But the amount of touches he gets, I think he's pretty safe. I like Warren. You can play Warren here, but he is playing a tough defense, so keep that in mind. And I also like Tay Martin. I think he is priced up a little bit, and this price tag is a little steep, but Tay Martin's the guy. They feed him the ball. They really press and just kind of throw to him as often as they can. So I would play Tay, but other than that, I'm probably not too interested in the rest of the Oklahoma State side. I think the Iowa State side is interesting. I actually like Brock Purdy. I think this is the spot where Purdy might have a breakout game. They do have a good defense in Oklahoma State, which might be able to slow down Breece Hall, one of the best running backs in the country. But at 9,400, I don't think I want to go there. I think he's too expensive. I think I'd rather be more balanced and find other guys who I think have just as much upside. So Breece Hall is one of the best backs in the country, so I'm not saying he's not good and he can't break the slate. He certainly can. I just think price per matchup is not the best, right? Good matchup, really expensive price tag. I think we can find some better value elsewhere. I do like Hutchinson a lot, and I also like Charlie Kolar, their tight end. So I'll play Purdy with Hutchinson and Kolar. I'll mix and match those two, stack them up. Those are the two matchups that I think are going to have an edge in this game. Moving on, the next playable game, a game to target is going to be this LSU Mississippi game, Ole Miss. Problem here is we don't know what's happening with Matt Corral, and that's going to be huge. If Matt Corral misses the game, which I think he might, that makes this decision interesting. So I don't know if we know who's going to be his replacement. I know Miles over in the chat is saying Kiffin mentioned Altmaier. If Altmaier plays at 4,400 and he's the starting quarterback for this explosive Ole Miss offense, then that's interesting, right? Then we got something to think about. But we need to have some more solidified information to know he's playing and it's on a split or what the scenario is. Right now, there's not. I don't have enough. I'm taking Miles' word for it. I believe him. So if that's the case, then that's something to consider. I actually think right now the best approach here is to target Drummond at 7,800 is too much. I think they're not going to just sprinkle it to the receivers all game, especially without Corral. I think targeting this rushing attack makes sense. Between Ely and Parrish and Connor, all these guys are involved, which make it tough to target. I like Parrish the most. I think he's the best back. I like what I've seen from him. I think Ely's in play because of the price tag. They all seem to be pretty close to even. So if you're getting that much of a savings, Snoop Connor being the most expensive probably just doesn't make sense because I'd rather take – if we're rolling the dice with one of them, I don't think I want to roll the dice with the most expensive one. On the other side, Max Johnson's in play here at 7,200. This is a game that should have a lot of scoring, so we want to get shares. If the quarterback on one of the teams is one of those players, great. I am disappointed we can't pair him with Bout, who is one of their best receiver, one of the best receivers in the country. So that makes me a little less interested in Johnson because he doesn't have that kind of playmaker in Bout. But there's some other guys we can target receiving-wise. Tyrion Davis-Price is my favorite player on the LSU team. He broke out last week at a good number. Another guy I recommended. He was a kind of a sleeper GPP player last week. This week, he's now playing a weak run D. He's going to be solidified carries. He's not sneaky, but I think he's still at 6,600, a pretty good value. And then on the receivers, Thomas, Beck, Jenkins, all in play here. Someone's got to make up for the targets here with Bout out. I think this could be a lot of scoring here, so you can take your pick. I don't love any of the receivers, to be honest, but because they're not priced up. I think Neighbors even it's 3,700 makes sense. You can find some value here and kind of fill out your lineup. So my preference would be to maybe play. Definitely, my preference on the LSU side is to play Davis-Price. If you're not and you want to sprinkle in a receiver or two, I think you can find some value receivers on the LSU side with their number one guy being out. On this Oregon UCLA game, another one where it's like this game could have a lot of points, but it's hard. They're not great DFS targets, right? Like Anthony Brown at 8K just doesn't have the upside that I would want to play in DFS. Like he rushes, doesn't throw for a lot of yards. He's fine, but he's not like an exciting DFS target. If he was 7K, I would be more excited about him, but not at 8K. I like Dye, especially knowing that Verdell's going to miss some time. If Verdell doesn't play, then Travis Dye getting a much bigger workload is interesting, and he catches the ball too. So Dye would be the guy I would target on Oregon, but this passing game just doesn't have enough juice for me to be interested. So Dye is the only guy I'm looking at here. On the UCLA side, there's some guys in play. I think this game is going to be some scores. So Thompson Robinson, 8,100. I would much prefer to Anthony Brown. He's lethal around the in the red zone. They run him in all the time. So he can throw for 200 and run a couple in as well. I like Charbonnet. Charbonnet is the guy here. He gets most of the carries. He hasn't been scoring much, but I think there might be some positive touchdown regression, if that's the right word, coming. So I would be interested in Charbonnet here. And then, Kyle Phillips being back is huge. He's their best receiver. He's the guy I would target. Outside of Phillips, I don't know if I'm too interested in the rest of the cast catchers. Greg Dulick, probably the best tight end, one of the best tight ends in the conference. So he's someone we can play at 4,800. I think he would be my preferred stack with Robinson because, he's more affordable. But him and Phillips would be the two receivers in play as well. Now, on the Clemson pick game, this Clemson team has been making a poor DFS target because they are a good defense and their offense has been not moving the ball. So I can't recommend playing DJ. He just hasn't shown me enough upside to be someone I'm interested in. I think Shipley might be hurt, so we don't know what's going on at running back with such a big question mark. I'm not interested in the running game either. Pittsburgh's run defense is formidable, so I don't think this is a team they're going to run all over. The only player I'm interested in on the Clemson side is Justin Ross, especially with Nada out. I think he'll get a ton of targets. So if they're going to funnel targets to Ross at 6,300, I think the price is there. That I could get behind, Justin Ross. Other than that, I'm pretty much out on this Clemson team. On the Pittsburgh side, this is a good Clemson defense. So I'm not going to be looking to target them too heavily. Kenny Pickett at 8,400, I'm not interested in. If you notice, most of the games where he's gone off, those games were because they were a bad defense, and this is not a bad defense. So I don't think he has the upside for an $8,400 price tag. Israel Abanikanda finally broke out last week. And I like him going forward this season, but this isn't the matchup to try him. So look at that, getting a call. Sorry about that, team. Like I said, it's my birthday. It's actually my sister calling me saying happy birthday, but I'll give her a call back. Abanikanda, again, he started to break out last week. I would like him moving forward, but not this week. I think this is too strong of a Clemson defense to play here. And then on the receiver side, Jordan Addison is the number one guy. He definitely has the big playability. I would be okay with him. He's priced up, and what I don't think will be a high-scoring game. I do think he can reach value because, he's a slate-breaking type talent. So I'd play Addison, but outside of him, I'm not too interested in this game, really. Maybe Ross, maybe Addison. Other than that, I think this is probably going to be a low-scoring to medium-scoring game. Lastly, here, last but not least, we have this Maryland-Minnesota game, which to me is honestly one of the most difficult games to even break down. We don't know what we're getting on the Maryland side. I think Tua's brother, Talia, is a good player, but this is a pretty good Minnesota defense. This is not a slouch of a defense. Fleet Davis hasn't been very great on the ground, and Minnesota has a good run D. So I wouldn't look at Fleet Davis for a running game, but they do throw to him a lot. So if you want to play Fleet Davis, I would play him more as a receiver, right? They play him like as someone you would pair with Talia in like a GPP, right? Someone to be different. So that's how I would play Fleet Davis. From a receiver end, Raheem Jarrett, all these guys, like they're all involved and there's some value here. Like you could play Jones, Jarrett, Cobbs, like there's guys. I think their tight end, Okonkwo is in play as well. But none of them are that. I don't think they're slate breaking. They don't have that high of potential against a pretty decent Minnesota D. I think you can find maybe one of these receivers as like a value play to throw into your lineup, but this would not be a target or a priority team to look for. And then on the other side with Minnesota, Tanner Morgan at 5,500 has become interesting for the reason that they don't have a running back anymore, right? Last week we thought and it looked like it was going to be Marquise Irving, and it wasn't, which was disappointing. It looks like Bryce Williams was the go-to guy. We're not sure if that's going to happen again. If we were to go with it back here, I would go back to Bryce Williams. He was the guy last week, but they lost their top two guys, right? They want to run the ball, but I don't know they have a solidified back. So if you want to take a shot on this running game, you can do so. Bryce Williams would be the guy I would go for, but there's a lot of question marks there. If you wanted to go Tanner Morgan and pair him with Autumn Bell, I think that makes a lot of sense. Autumn Bell's been priced up, which I don't love, and some of their other receivers are coming back with Wright and Jackson. I even like Brown Stevens as a guy who's been making some big plays. So I think Morgan's in play as a super affordable option where we can cram in some of these top-tier receivers and running backs, and Tanner can get us maybe 250 and 2 and reach value. So I might play Tanner Morgan against a beatable Maryland defense with some of his better receivers coming back, but for the most part, this doesn't seem like the best game or game script to target. That's a wrap. Like I said, it was a pretty quick show, 25 minutes. Take a look. If you have any questions, obviously drop into Discord. I'll try and take a look before kickoff tomorrow. But in general, I think this is a more difficult week with a lot of defensive matchups. So we'll try and get in there and find the value with some of the guys that I listed. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you guys do next week. I know I'm early, so folks who usually watch live might be watching on record. Come back next week. Let me know how you did. Good luck this week, fam, and I'll catch you next week.